Hello, everybody, and good afternoon. I'm back once again, and today I'm being joined by Philippa Butler. Thank you for joining me, Philippa.
Oh, you're welcome. It's great to be here. Thanks, Graham.
I'm trying to keep hydrated, which is a very important part of health, as you know. And that's what we're here to talk about, really, is people's health, which has sadly gone to the dogs for a lot of people over the pandemic period, especially from the first lockdown when we had that lovely weather as well. We're eating too much, drinking too much home baking, and they've never got back into a proper habit.
That's right. I mean, there is a place for all these things. And, my motto is everything in moderation. So having a balanced approach to our lives. And so, you might think of nutrition, taking a balanced approach to nutrition. And so with the same regard to this balanced approach to movement. And so for balance, you've got to have rest. Definitely, but equally, you've got to move, and so we want to maintain this balance. And we can all kind of do an audit of our day and look at where we spend the most of our time. And is that moving around? Modern life has removed movement from a lot of our coincidental lives, so that we're not moving for work necessarily. We're very sedentary in our work, and at the moment we're not even moving to get to work, a lot of us. So like I know you're taking your walks every day in January, and even if we're not having to travel to get to work, then pretend and go for a walk and pretend it's your walk to work, because it may be that you would have walked even only from the car to the office. You might have taken a flight of stairs. You might have walked to a bus stop, and now these things perhaps are not happening. It's not embedded in the things that we're doing. So invariably, where there's a risk that you're a little bit more sedentary. And so, do this audit, look at your day, be honest with yourself, and and like I do, if you wanted to, wear a device that tracks your actions. You can't cheat that, can you?
Well, no. And actually someone commented on my little walk post yesterday that one of the things that they've been doing is in a little collective of friends, they've all been wearing Fitbits. Other devices are available.
Indeed.
And they've been sort of challenging each other in terms of steps on a daily basis. And how important is sometimes for people doing this exercise with someone else and motivating each other? How important is that?
No, it's totally important. The evidence is that people who body up, even virtually with those kinds of devices, will do 700 more steps in a day. So that is incentivizing the process. For some people, that will be the only reason that they do it, and for others it will encourage them to maybe do a little more than they otherwise would do. And so we can buddy up with people we know, or equally it could be people we don't know. And this is all fabulous to harness this technology to encourage us to take up these habits or improve the ratio of sedentary to movement in our lives. This is all good.
Yeah. Well, I've certainly seen an increase in the adverts on the TV for things like Peloton and, these bicycle systems or these running systems where somebody shouts at you on the screen. Not sure that I'd particularly enjoy that, having someone shout at me about, push yourself that little bit further. And I certainly don't have the room in front of my TV with all the kids' toys and everything in order to fit a bike. But it's, I suppose it works on the same principle, that it's about joining in with a group of other people and being motivated. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your work. What is it that you actually do on a day-to-day basis, Philippa?
Well, I'm a physiotherapist and a Pilates teacher, and I'm a yoga teacher. And my day involves moving for my work. So I am exceedingly fortunate in that regard, because I teach virtually Pilates for bone health. I'm particularly interested in midlife, and the fact that moving more in our middle lives is really crucially important for the quality of our lives moving forward. So I am a woman of a certain age, Graham. I think you know this.
Yeah, 21, isn't it?
21, that's
yeah.
it, yes.
Yeah.
And so I've got a vested interest in, in doing these things for my own body. And I'm just passionate about sharing movement, the benefits of movement. And, I don't want you to get me wrong. I do relax. And actually, I'm a keen meditator. So that's the benefits of taking time out of your day to really relax your mind. Has so many benefits for our overall health.
Well, that's an interesting area in itself, and I've occasionally done medication, believe it or not, in my life. I quite used to going to Taizé sessions in churches, which where you actually chant. So. But what you're hitting on there as well is that quite often in our downtime, where we're trying to relax both our body and our mind, we're actually still getting involved in activity which is potentially stressful in a way, and actually therefore you're not unwinding. A lot of people like to sit with their phone and scroll through various social media channels, shall we say, and there's one in particular that I'm not even involved with, which is all the time people talking about what's wrong here and what's wrong there, and live up to this and live up to there. In a way, that's not particularly stress relieving, is it?
No, I mean, technology has the amazing capacity to help us, but on the other hand, it can also steal our time away from us if we're not careful. And this is something that I'm clearly counseling my children about on a daily basis, pretty much. And also the capacity to change our biochemistry in the brain, and not in a good way. So that, the biochemistry of stress and anxiety can be fueled by those kinds of interactions with, it's a bit like road rage, isn't it? Getting all riled up about things that you might be exposed to, on these media. So I definitely advocate turning it off for a certain time each day and get away from it and get out into fresh air and nature. And that really is a total antidote to the biochemistry that might be created. Some of us, it's our jobs and we're in front of it, and that's a good thing. But, like all these things, you can have too much of a good thing. And, I favor the 80-20 rule. So, it's what you do 80% of the time that makes a difference. And so, definitely sit down with a book and relax, or watch television, but think more along the lines of that balance that the good stuff that you're putting into your bodies, whether it's food, whether it's movement, whether it's mindful practices, whether it's community, time with friends, whatever it is, think of that as taking up the bulk of your day, or your spare day, whatever you've got left after work, rather than those passive pursuits, which have the value, but maybe only in small doses.
Yeah, I think sometimes we have to take someone on a journey as well towards that, because they're in such a place at that moment that it's a long journey to say, go from, being in front of the computer all day long to, taking the time to go out and be in wilderness and have time to yourself and whatever. Yeah. So, I mean, that's one of the reasons I'm starting this take a break sessions with Rory as of next week, where we're just making half an hour available online initially for people to pop into that, even if it's just for 5 minutes, and take a break. Because one of the things that I found as an assessor in the workplace assessment piece is that at the moment, there's so many people that are just not breaking at all. In fact, even this morning, there was a bit of dialogue on one of my posts where someone said, I can't ever make it to one of your online things because, and I said, well, when do you need it to happen? And they said, well, after I finish work. And I said, but the whole point of this session is it's to take a break in the day, and they're not taking any breaks,
The sense of the breaks that might have been there in your day before all this COVID kicked off would have been eroded, so that people are finding that they can be sat for prolonged periods without even leaving the chair. And that steep learning curve so many people have had, including myself, with how to manipulate the technology, has kind of been taking up what might have been free time. And that's just eroded the free time so that, people can be sat there for hours on end. And we know that that's really not good for the body. The eyes, it's not good for our visual health to be staring at a screen at such close quarters for such prolonged periods. And we need the break from looking at the screen. We need a break for our backs. We need a break for our brains. And actually, this will improve productivity. It's not a thing that is a skiving. We're taking time away that ultimately will enhance our performance, and that's really important, that people appreciate the value of taking the time away. And similarly with physical movement, we improve our mental performance just by standing up. We've got more oxygen to the brain just by spending more of our time standing up. And so if you're on a phone call, stand up, take a phone call. Definitely come along and join Graham for some. I'm sure there'll be some really top tips, Graham.
Yeah, oh yes, absolutely. You might join us for a session yourself. It takes us into the next question, which is, what is fitness? Because some people may not understand what it means to actually be fit. How do we measure this? And are we, as long as we feel like we can get out of bed in the morning and make it through the day, are we fit and healthy? Or do we need a little bit more than that?
I think we could do with a bit more than feeling like we can just about make it through the day. And so what is fitness? Well, it does depend on your life, the life that you have, and also it depends on the life that you want to have. Because it's what's important to you as an individual. So for some people, they might value the ability to bend themselves in half and be exceptionally flexible. And for other people, it may be that they want to lift a huge, heavy dumbbell or barbell. And for other people, they might want to run really fast away from whatever. So, these are all components of fitness. And, we tend to have a propensity to go down a particular route, a preference. And so if you have a preference, then that's fine. Do what it is that you love to do, because actually the gains will be greater if you engage in activities that you really, really enjoy. And the gains will be so much greater for that. But let's think about our ability to function in daily life. And this is where, if we're not kind of paying attention, which for the most part we're not, because we're on autopilot, if we're not paying attention, all of a sudden we discover that reaching that top shelf, suddenly it seems like it got further away from us. How did that happen? And then what is this? Your feet get further away, don't they?
Oh, getting the shoes on in the morning. Yeah,
that's it. Your feet get further away. And then getting up out of the chair. I think this is a Billy Connolly joke, isn't it? That you can't get out of a chair without making some kind of a noise. And that's a thing that goes along with middle age. So consider, can you reach between your shoulder blades to scratch your back? And then that gives us a clue as to how supple we are in the area of the shoulder joint, for instance. Can we lift our shopping into the boot of the car? Are we thinking about putting less into a bag so it makes it easier to lift it into the boot of the car? Can we reach the top shelf? What about unscrewing that jar of gherkins that's left over from Christmas.
Oh, I always get that job. Always.
Yeah. Well, this is it. This is it, Graham. So if you start to kind of notice these tasks that once upon a time, I mean, let's be honest, my son who's 20, he doesn't even know he's got a body. It's like it's just this thing that does everything he wants it to do, whereas mine is becoming slightly more reluctant with the passage of time. So, and this is something that happens to all of us, but it's a kind of a slippery slope. And I think that we need to, if we notice these things, maybe we don't notice, but if we, maybe after this, you'll go home and you're probably already home, scratch your back and just notice that maybe it's not quite as easy as it was, getting the loofah down the back of you or whatever. And so really all these things are components of fitness. It's muscular strength, endurance, our ability to do things for long times at a time, our flexibility, reach your toes, and balance. So this is the other feature that potentially is declining with the passage of time. And so balance, actually, there was a study that showed that of all the features, strength, balance kind of had the edge in terms of predicting longevity. So that is, your ability to balance and not fall over should the occasion arise when you trip on the curb or hit the banana skin, whatever it is.
Well, then I've totally had it, because I've never had good balance since a kid. Although I think I was, I've stayed relatively fit, and I was incredibly fit as a child. But balance was never there with me. But of course, we've got to remember some people have various conditions where balance isn't quite so good. And it may well be that I'm slightly hypermobile, for example. My son has hypermobility joint syndrome, and again, like me, if he tries to ride a bike, etc., he just falls off. So
I mean, there undoubtedly, you and I both being physiotherapists, I've spent my career as a musculoskeletal specialist. That is, everything to do with arms, legs, necks, and backs. I've spent my career dealing with people who have either had injuries, illnesses, or conditions that they present them with challenges. I've worked with neurological conditions, multiple sclerosis, for instance, and the challenges that our lives present to us, it's really about the idea of optimization, so that we're optimizing our potential to perform physically. And so, definitely there are limiting factors. We've all got our individual set of circumstances. And so that is where actually working with someone like myself and yourself, who's a therapy background, if you have challenges, then we are used to working with those kinds of situations and optimizing people's performance, because it isn't about comparing you with me, say, for instance, okay? It isn't about that. It's about comparing you with you. And so let's be our best version of ourselves. And if you know that you have a propensity for balance issues, then one thing we do know is that core strength can potentially help with those kinds of things. And so get to know where your strengths lie, get to know where the challenges are, and then work with people that can help you if you feel like you need a little more guidance. And there's lots of free guidance out there. There's a variety of sources of information. Obviously, I would recommend you to go to reputable sources. The NHS website has a lot of really good information. Try not to get too embroiled in fads if you can avoid it.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, is this one of the reasons why people gravitate to you and work with you in terms of their fitness? Is because for me, I think when you get to a certain age, you look at, and social media is to blame for this very much so. You look at certain people talking about health and fitness, and to me, it's too extreme. And and certainly if I was 19, 20, I'd look at that and go, well, that's aspirational. That's for now. I look at it and go, well, that's just completely ridiculous. There is no way with a family, young family, with a busy life, with work, etc. as well, that I'm going to get up early morning, cycle 5K, run 15K, jump in a river, do another couple of miles, go to the gym, do a whole load of weights, and come home before I have breakfast. I mean, it's just not going to happen, And is it about working with someone that actually does understand where your starting point is and where you're coming from as a person and just taking you through those small steps?
Yeah, I mean, I think it certainly depends on your own individual set of circumstances, and finding somebody that you feel represents either where you want to go, or that their knowledge and skills will support you on your journey. And it really, there's a lot of it is about personalities as well, because there has to be that connection. Sometimes this, mentioning no names, the idea that we can all perform in the same way at the same level and look the same is just totally unrealistic. And it's much more about optimizing you as an individual. And that has to take into account your family situation, your work situation, your genetic propensity for whatever it is. But by the same token, don't let that be a reason for not trying. Don't let the busyness of your lives. I was only reflecting this morning. I was out with my son. I literally had a window of time, and I took it to go for a 45-minute bike ride, and with my son. And I was reflecting on all the imaginative ways that I came up with as my children were young to incorporate physical activity into our family life. And so this is not something I've just been doing for the last few months. This is something I've been doing since I was a young person, on and off, fits and starts. But movements is something that we've done together as a family. And I think that if you can take that approach with your family, then you're giving them this insurance policy for the future. We know that it's what you do in terms of bone health. It's what you do when you're young. The impact that your bones sustain when you are young is what's building up those reserves of bone that, as the decline comes with middle life and older age, if you're starting higher up, then you're going to fall less far. So, as much as we can, be imaginative and know that anything that you do is better than nothing, because 5 minutes of stretches, 5 minutes of meditation, 5 minutes of just lifting a couple of tins while you're waiting for the kettle to boil, it's all moving you in the right direction. And, it kind of becomes a little bit addictive then. So that, you start to do a little more and you feel the benefit. And so it becomes a self-perpetuating thing.
Well, I jokingly said that on some of my first videos about the walk. I said, look, if all you can manage today is to leave your chair upstairs in your office and walk downstairs to open the biscuit tin, I said, don't take any of the biscuits out. But, opening the biscuit tin, closing the biscuit tin, learning a little bit of, and the reason I said that is because part of that is learning that, restraint from actually having the biscuit, as well. Because over the Christmas period, you sort of just wander through the house and all of that food's out and you just sort of graze as you go. But, that's a learnt behavior that you have to then unlearn. Going back, so I mean, the next question was, do you have we left it too late? Did I leave it too late? And I guess the answer to that is no, but it's how you move on from wherever you are will differ.
That's right. Over the next week, I'm going to be demonstrating some of these tests on my page. Well, I'll be demonstrating them all, actually. And so you'll get to see whether I'm any good at doing them. And you know what? I won't be able to do them all.
Where is your page, just so that people know?
Oh, Precision on LinkedIn. I'm on all the platforms. But
hang on a minute. I think I may actually have a little screenshot for you there.
Oh,
There you go.
Am.
So Precision Limited on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
If you want to get these videos, etc., if you follow that, you'll get notification for that. There you go.
Yeah, that's right. And so you might want to have a little go and see how you fare. And then that might just guide you in a direction. I think the biggest thing, and I've been talking to lots of fitness professionals lately, and I think where we agree is that it's where you're starting from that matters as to what decisions you make as to the kinds of things you should be doing. And so it's not this one-stop shop, one approach fits all. So that although high intensity interval training has huge health benefits, if you're at the stage where bending down to reach your feet is a challenge, then throwing a burpee is probably just a little out of reach just now. So what I'm suggesting is that, and I know I'm not on my own in this, that we need to kind of get fit to get fit.
Yeah.
And that means that we need to condition our joints so that they can accept the movements that we will then be asking them to perform. We need to engage and encourage the core muscles to wake up, because our sedentary lives are just encouraging the muscles to go to that place of not doing anything by default. So we need to kind of awaken the body to prepare then for perhaps more intense strength training, more intense interval training. But to jump in thinking that I've seen this YouTube video and I'm going to get fit. It's 2020, January 2021. I've finished everything in the cupboard and it's time to get fit. Well, you know what? Then that's really good for physiotherapy clinics, because the chances are that
you're going to get an injury.
You could hurt yourself. Yeah. And I don't want to put anybody off ever. I really just want to encourage people to move well.
I think one of the things is to set realistic goals. Absolutely. And, if you've been, for example, a heavy drinker, and through the Christmas period, you've been a heavy drinker, sometimes to go from that to nothing is too much. So maybe it's like no drink in the week, but yes, have a little drink on the weekend. If you've been bad with your diet, taking everything out and all treats out and suddenly changing to another diet can be quite, if you're then trying to exercise, can be dreadful for your body, because so it's maybe about just cutting down a little bit or changing portion size. So
I think realistic goals is the thing. And so that's the whole thing about goals. If you've been in business, the SMART acronym, S, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, timed. We can bring those principles into our plans for our movement practices, nutritional, whatever it is. And so definitely have a goal, have something in mind, but, make it something, perhaps something that you want to do, something you want to achieve, rather than I want to lose 10 pounds or, certainly from a movement perspective. And then really we need to find ways in which we can move that make it not a chore. Yeah, so think, your legs don't know if you're squatting to lift a kettlebell or you're squatting to do some weeding in the garden. Your legs don't know. So take your legs out in the garden and do some gardening if that's your thing. And just really get connected with what it is that lights you up. What is it that really makes you, gives you a lift? Is it the fresh air? Is it sitting on a bike in the garage, pedaling with the Peloton? I mean, whatever. There's no right. There's no wrong. It's a very personal thing. And so think of something you love and think of an exercise that allows you to do it. So dancing. I just love dancing. I mean, put on some 1980s music, ABBA. I can't stop myself. So, just tap into those things that really light you up and think of connecting with somebody. That might be the thing. Maybe it's not about you. It's this friend of yours that's been really wanting you to do yoga with them. And you think, do you know what? I'm just going to do yoga with this person because it's going to make them feel better and I'll support them. So, if not for you, then it may be that it's somebody else that wants a little bit of a lift. And, know that no dose is too small.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to Stephen Howe on the Wow Ergonomics show that we did this morning, prior to this, and I've done a poll over the last day or so about seating, for example.
And
what are people choosing? Are they choosing an office chair, or are they choosing a gaming chair, etc.? There's a slight concern for me. Someone coming from the ergonomics background, because actually what I'm seeing is potentially people going for comfort as opposed to movement, and I just think actually that could potentially be a problem. Yes, we could get really comfortable, and it's the same with all of these things. I think we've got to take ourselves outside of our comfort zones a little bit with all of these things. And one of the reasons that I did the walking thing every day was because some days it was quite nice, but other days it was pouring with rain. You've still got to go over the threshold and out in it, even when it's raining. If you're going to do it, you've got to commit to doing it rain or shine, from my point of view.
I agree that that movement ideally is a daily practice. I think you could mix it up a bit, and it's for you, whatever is for you. You decided that was what you wanted to do, and that's a good thing. But when we're setting our goals, know that there's going to be a day when maybe it's so rainy that you really just can't face it. And that's okay too. So, and maybe instead you decide to do a video online or something, and so don't knock yourself about because of that. Give yourself a pat on the back for doing all those other days that you did, because, this is the other thing. Celebrating success actually is going to embed these habits. It's if we want to make our lifestyle choices habits, then we need to celebrate success. So yes, give yourself a pat on the back and don't beat yourself up that one day it was too wet and you didn't bother.
I think that's a really important point, which is that rewarding yourself is really, really important. And that's, you've got to give yourself credit for something that you've done. And for me, that kind of balance about any time that you take something away in life, you've actually got to add something back in as well. My church background when I was young always taught me that that's really what Lent should be about, that it's not just about giving things up, it's actually about taking something up at the same time, because that's if you just think about what you sacrifice but you don't actually take up something positive to replace it, that's not actually really achieving the same thing. So little tip for anybody that's trying to give up on the alcohol, for example, is if you don't buy the alcohol, then you've got a little bit more money in your pocket. So set yourself a goal that if you go through a month without the alcohol, buy yourself a present at the end of the month, because think about all of the pounds that you've saved by not partaking in the alcohol.
And I mean, I think that's true. The rewards should be congruous with the goals. So don't treat yourself with a bottle of something. And same with exercise. I mean, I've been guilty over my life of running to eat. Running to eat. Now, there's a very slight incongruence there, isn't there? So if I'm running to be fitter and healthier, why is it that when I get back I think I can eat something that maybe otherwise I wouldn't have been able to? So make the rewards congruous with whatever the activity, the goal is.
Well, I've always found in that respect that the thing to do then is go and buy yourself something clothing wise whereby you actually fit into it, because you've actually lost a bit of weight, etc. Then that actually brings about a completion there.
Yes.
No, absolutely. But in terms of sitting and all of those things, make sure you pick things that help you to move as well.
I know. So I sit on a dining chair. It's uncomfortable. I'm not going to sit there for too long. My bum will go numb. So then I'll move about. And my children have those really uncomfortable wooden dining chairs at their desks in the bedrooms. They were my granny's, actually. So they've got sentimental value, and so now we've all got the uncomfortable chair at the desk, which maybe it's a good thing. No,
it probably is. Well, thank you, Philippa, for coming on. It was hopefully for you a painless experience. But if anybody wants to find out any more about what it is that you do visit Philippa's Precision Limited page, follow it. And have a chat with Philippa about how she might be able to help you get started on changing your habits over this next year, because unfortunately we are going to be in this for the long run. And yes, Boris is set to announce his plan of how we come out of this, but restrictions are going to be there for a while in terms of moving about, etc. So it's good to get into some good habits with somebody that can help with that.
Don't wait.
Absolutely,
grasp the nettle.
Thank you very much for joining me today, Philippa.
Thanks, Graham.
Cheers. Bye for now.
Bye.